And we resume our special Big South Football Media Day for the spring season. It's 11:30, and happy to bring in head coach Kevin Callahan, wide receiver Lonnie Moore from Monmouth University. Coach, good morning. Great to see you. Hello, Lonnie. Coach, great to see you. Haven't seen you this fall. Let's get your thoughts on how the preseason for you for the spring campaign is going for you and the squad.
Well, actually, tomorrow will be our first day of practice. Up until this point, since we returned to campus, we've really been focusing on strength and conditioning work. And I think that aspect of it is extremely important. We've missed so much time over the course of pretty much the last year and a half. We wanted to make sure that before we dove into preseason completely, that our players were physically ready, for the demands on their bodies. And I can honestly say that I have to really commend our players for what they've done. Their resiliency and the way that they've approached the work day in and day out has been exceptional. And I know they're all excited to get back on the field tomorrow, which will be day number one. We got the field plowed for a second time again today. So unless it snows a lot tonight, I think we'll be in great shape.
Thank you, Coach. Let's hear from Lonnie real quick on his perspective on how it's going from the student-athlete side. Coach mentioned some of the changes to the schedule. Just how has it been for you and the circumstances with getting ready for a spring season?
Well, yeah, this is definitely a very different year. Things are unusual, but I feel like that our football team, we've been doing a good job at it, just adjusting and working with whatever comes our way. Whether it's practice being canceled, not being able to lift, limited space. We're just making things work and just looking forward to the season.
Thank you, Lonnie. We'll go ahead and start questions for both of you. First is from Steve Evelson. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, Lonnie.
Good morning, Steve.
Hey, Kevin, I was hoping maybe you could address kind of the unique challenges of practicing this time of year. I know there's cold weather coming in, some more snow possibly in the forecast. So different than what you're used to now.
You're right, Steve. It is extremely different, and there will be challenges and there will be adverse situations, primarily from the weather. And the other thing is a space. And with all 23 of Monmouth sports competing this spring, and we do have limited facilities, so there's going to have to be a high level of cooperation there. But as I said earlier, our players are really focused on controlling what they can control. And there's so many of these factors that are beyond our control, they're not worth worrying about. This is, as I said, a very resilient group of guys. They're very flexible, and then they know that things could change on a daily basis. And we're just going to adapt to the changes as they come and move on. We know we're going to have some issues with weather as we go through this preseason period. This is the first time that we've had a preseason while we are in school, while the classes are in session. Normally it would occur in August. So that's a little bit of a different situation as well. But the thing that I'm very proud of is the approach that our players have taken and will take. They're very focused on what it is they want to do, and that's to get on the field and play. It's been since December 7th of 2019 since we've been on the field in a competitive situation. We did not have spring ball last year. We did not have a preseason practice. We had a few practices scattered throughout the fall. So this is really our first opportunity to get this group together and go out and be on the field. And, we can't let all the little things that we can't control bother us or stop us. So we're ready to go full speed ahead. And I know our players are as well.
And this may be for you and for Lonnie as well. You come into this season as the preseason favorites in the Big South. You're nationally ranked. Is there more pressure on this program now than maybe there has been maybe ever? And if there is that a good thing?
Well, I don't see it as more pressure, Steve. I see it as, what this group has been able to do over the last 3 seasons has created a new standard, a new level of expectation for the football program here at Monmouth. And the challenge that we face on a daily basis is to live up to that standard, to perform up to that standard in everything that we do, whether it's lifting weights or conditioning or practicing or actually going out and playing. We want to make sure that as individuals, we're all playing up to that standard and surpassing that. And then as a coaching staff, as a team, as an offense, as a defense, our special teams units, we're all very hungry to make sure that there's no slipping back, that we perform up to that standard that we've set for the program on a daily basis. And Lonnie may have something to add to that.
Yeah, basically, how I just look at it, this is a different team than any team that we've ever had in the past. This isn't the same team from last year. So yes, we had accomplishments, and we take pride in those accomplishments. But we just move forward. You know, we're a different team. We're coming into the season hungry. We're not really too concerned about where we're ranked or where we will be ranked at, but we're just looking to just get better every day and just take things and that are in our control and just take things one step at a time. And when the season comes, we'll definitely be ready. So yes, it's great to be ranked, nationally ranked, but as a team, we're not really too concerned about where we're ranked, what numbers we are. We're just worried about doing our job, controlling what we can control, and just having a great season.
Great, thanks.
Thank you, Steve. We'll now move to Matt Harmon with questions. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Coach. Good morning.
Good morning, Matt.
I mean, obviously been around the program for a really long time, and you have always spoken of the season being a marathon. Is this a year that it's more of a sprint because of the limited games, but still the opportunity to go to the postseason?
Well, it's true that there's far fewer games that you would normally have, and we're really playing a 6-week season within which we'll have 4 contests. But we're not going to change our approach. I don't think we have to necessarily go that much faster. I think the number one priority is to make sure that we are prepared and ready when the season begins. And as Steve mentioned before, there will be some unique challenges that we'll have this year. We've never had winter football before at Monmouth, and so this is a first time for that. But as I said, I think those are challenges that we can overcome, and our goal is to be ready when the season begins on March 13th.
Matt, anything else?
No, I'll let somebody else hop in, Mark. I can loop back around.
Sounds great. We'll move on to Mike Reddy. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, thanks, Mark. Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Mike?
Good. Hey, I was wondering with the 4-game schedule, a lot of times during the season, the teams don't even hit their stride until 4 games into the season. How is that going to affect the team's game planning and moving forward with that?
Well, we're going to have to hit our stride before the season begins. There's no time to let things play out and see how they go. As I mentioned, it's a 6-week period of time within which we have 4 games, 2 weeks that are scheduled as open weeks in there in case there has to be a makeup or something like that. But we've got to make sure that we're ready to go now. You know, our mantra all along, going back to last year on March 9th, when our players left campus, was that, we can't control everything, but we can control how the outcome and how we look at it. And well, we've pledged all along that when the season begins, whenever it is, we'll be ready for it. And our players have bought into that, and they've conducted themselves that way in everything that they do.
On that same topic, it's got to really help you guys having so many returning starters on both sides of the ball to get to where you want to get quicker.
There's no question about that. Having experience and experience depth is something that's very important. I think it's critical for any football team, but I think it's especially critical this year, given that there's been such a significant layoff and such a significant period of time where we haven't played. We're going to rely on our older players to provide that veteran leadership, to bring the younger guys along, but also to help us, in the competitive situations, because they've been there before and they've performed and excelled in those situations.
Was there ever any thought of scheduling non-conference games?
There was. One of the things that we looked at is if you're going to schedule a non-conference game, it would have to be prior to the start of the Big South season. Well, one of the problems that we have here in New Jersey is the climate. To go any earlier, we would have had to start practicing in January probably. We weren't back on campus until January 25th. So, there was a couple parameters that we had to work within. And then once our players did get back to campus, our focus was to make sure that they were physically ready and prepared for the upcoming season. And instead of, playing non-conference games and rushing to get ready there, we felt that time was better spent on the physical development of our guys.
Now, going back, probably your biggest loss of player loss is Kenji at quarterback. Going back to the fall practice, did anybody separate themselves at the quarterback position, Coach?
I guess the big answer is no. I liked what we saw. I liked the development at the position. I liked the depth at the position. We saw a number of players do some different things that we were happy about, but that was such a small sample. There was really only 12 practices during that period of time. And in those 12 practices, we arrived at the 12th one having had some shutdowns in between. So there might have been a little bit of a loss of consistency or continuity there because we had to shut down at certain points. The answer is I'm happy with the skill and the talent at the position. As far as anybody separating themselves as the number one guy, that hasn't happened yet.
Having such a talented receiving quarterback, that's going to help whoever does step into the quarterback spot.
Well, and I'll let Lonnie talk to this as well, because he's certainly one of the guys in that receiving core. Anytime you have veteran players that you can put around the quarterback position, it makes the job of that position that much easier. We've got a veteran offensive line. We've got a returning tight end. All of our receivers return. So, we're excited about the pieces that we have surrounding the quarterback spot. And maybe Lonnie wants to add something to that as well.
Yeah, I think that we're really comfortable where we're at with all the position groups on offense, even losing Kenji, losing Pete. I feel like that we have guys that are ready to step in and take this thing by the horns and get it rolling, even though they may not have as much experience. I feel like that everybody's been doing a great job just learning the playbook, getting their bodies right, just taking care of their bodies. And I just feel like that things will look okay when the season starts.
Hey, Lonnie, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Good. Hey, you mentioned losing Pete, but how big is it for you guys to get Jawan back in the backfield for you?
Yeah, that's very big for our offense. I know a lot of guys talk about losing Pete, and Pete is a phenomenal player. But it just speaks volumes about the coaching staff and the great job that our coaching staff is able to do recruiting wise, and just bringing in depth at every position. So yeah, I know that we have lost players, but I just feel comfortable with the players that we have that are upcoming and just looking to prove themselves.
How did you stay positive and focused, Lonnie, through all this shutdown and pandemic stuff?
I guess just by the will that I have, just for my love of the sport, the love of my team, just wanting to be around my team, wanting to be around my teammates. It just always pushed me, just knowing that I don't know when we'll play, but I know that eventually we will play. That always was just in the back of my mind. So I just did everything that I could in this off season just to prepare myself mentally, physically, and I just stayed on course,
Coming off All Big South season, do you feel you've improved your game at all, or what do you want to improve your game at?
Most definitely. I always look to improve my game. There's always room for improvement. I feel like this off season, I really took it upon myself to really improve my physical stature by adding some more weight, adding some more muscle. And then with that, just increasing my speed, increasing my agility. So I just feel like it's been a really good offense for me and my teammates. And I just feel like that when the season starts, that we'll be in good shape.
The last game you played in, Lonnie had 93-yard touchdown return. That's got to help you. That had to help you through this tough times. Looking back on that and looking forward to another one of them.
Yeah, just always looking back on the great things that you've done. It'll always give you motivation, and it just keeps you on the edge. I know just for me, just it always made me want more, and I'm just not satisfied. So yes, I did have a pretty good season last year, but I just look to have an even better season.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
Mike.
I'm good.
We'll come back to you if you got anything else. We're going to go to Paul Newberry. Then after him, we're going to give Eddie Occhipini a chance. So Paul, you're first, followed by Eddie.
Okay, thanks. Hey, first of all, for Lonnie, what are your thoughts about practicing in in the conditions that you're going to have to deal with there in New Jersey? What I assume as a player, practicing in the snow or on a snow-covered field is not ideal.
Well, yeah, some may say that it's not ideal, but I know me personally, like I always wanted to play football in the snow. So like these conditions, like I've lived in Jersey, so I'm pretty used to playing in the cold. It gets cold in November, it gets cold in December. So I think that me and our team, we're pretty used to playing in the cold, and I don't look at the weather being a big factor for us that brings us down or anything. We'll be practicing this whole spring in this weather, so it's really no big deal. I feel like that it'll be fine.
For Coach, what kind of again on that theory, on the thoughts of having to play that, you said you just had your field plowed and hope that it'll be clear. Just what are the challenges to trying to get ready for a season in these sort of weather conditions?
Well, the challenges are, Paul, that one, it's different. We've never really played football in the winter before. Never had to worry about weather conditions and whether or not the field's cleared. So that's going to be new to us, but it's not anything that we can't overcome. The other thing that's quite interesting, in August, when it's hot and humid here, we usually have to schedule breaks in the practice so our players can cool down and hydrate and all that. Now we might have to schedule breaks where our players can go get heated up and get in front of the fire a little bit, warm their hands. And, we're going to build campfires all the way around the field, so when the players aren't active, they can go over and warm their hands. I'm only kidding about that, Paul, but we're going to have to really make sure we keep our bodies work.
I was going to say, I assume that was a joke, but but what are you preparing for, like to so they can warm up if it's a really bitterly cold day, or start snowing on you or something?
Right. Well, I mean, we're going to practice every day regardless. We're going to find a way to get out there and practice regardless of the conditions. The biggest challenge you have it isn't the cold, it's retaining body heat. And we've been able to, purchase equipment and gear for our players that will help them retain their body heat. Once the body heat is retained, there's really no challenge to it. There's no downside. So you just go out and practice. As Lonnie said, a lot of our guys are, from the Northeast originally. They know they're used to this climate and used to this weather. It's just a matter of going out and playing ball in it now. So I think our guys are kind of looking forward to it, to be honest with you, Paul. We're excited about this challenge.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Eddie, you're up.
Mark, thanks a lot. Coach, how you doing today?
Good, Eddie. Thank you.
Coach, and it's going to be a question for both you and Lonnie, but I want to start with you. I know Lonnie mentioned how every year it's a new team, but what is the experience of going to the FCS playoffs and winning a game? What has it done to really the culture of this program and in your development in your time at Monmouth, what it means?
Well, it's, I think, it's raised the bar of expectations. The level that these players on this team, in this program, expect to perform at now. Being in the FCS playoffs 2 of the last 3 seasons has created an expectation of that's where we want to be. But it's also created a culture that understands how hard you have to work to get there, knowing that it's not an easy road, knowing that there are challenges each and every day that you have to overcome to get to that point. And it's that culture that has created the mentality and the mindset that our players have, that know they've got to be able to handle adversity. They've got to be able to overcome challenges in different situations. And if you have a team that is talented and they have that type of mindset, and that mindset runs seamless throughout every member of your team, then you've got a chance. And I think that's where we are as a program right now.
So Lonnie, hearing Coach say what he said, from the player perspective, what has it meant for you and your classmates to be part of that group at Monmouth that has broken through and now has set this new standard?
I mean, it's honestly great, honestly. Just coming in as a freshman, you just like looking back as my time as a freshman, you just see just the progress that we've made as a program and as a team. You know, just being better, competing where we need to compete, and then just taking over top, winning the Big South Championship, and then winning a playoff game last year. It's just great just to see the progress that we've been made, and honestly, just with all the veterans that we have coming back, I just feel like it's going to be a great season, and we just look to even build on what we did last year. Like, we're really confident in our team and what we can do. So yes, it's been great winning the Big South, winning the playoff game, but we're just looking to take it to the next step now.
And I know this question was already posed a little bit, and just one last follow-up, Mark, and I'll get out of the way. But, you know, Lonnie, how competitive is the wide receiver room? There's a lot of talent. There is a lot of personality in that room. How competitive is that room that you're in every day?
Yeah, it's great. It's great being a wide receiver. I mean, everybody knows most likely the wide receiver position on your team is probably the most talented or skilled players that you have on your team. So just being here at Monmouth, like I can't even explain how much depth that we have at the wide receiver position. Like, we have a ton of young guys that have came in hungry, just looking to get better every day, taking what they learn from the coaches, from older guys, and just implementing it into their game. So there's definitely a lot of talent at the wide receiver position. And it's just great to be with those guys every day and just be able to compete with each other and push each other to be better.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thanks, Eddie. We're going to move on to Alan Saunders, followed by Steve Edelson. Go ahead, Alan.
Hey, Kevin, I appreciate you taking some time for this. Obviously, you coached in the NEC for a long time before you made the move to the Big South. Robert Morris is going through that transition this year. Just from your experience, what were the differences in the leagues? How did you have to adjust? And what do you feel like allowed your program to have so much success relatively quickly in that transition?
Well, you know, I don't know what the status, you know, it's been 7 years since we were in the NEC. At the time when we left the NEC to go to the Big South, we were operating with about 34 scholarships, and we were entering into a league where everybody else had 60 or 63 scholarships. And we knew it was going to take us time to kind of ratchet up the scholarships so that we could be competitive. And don't get me wrong, I think our top players back in those days were as good as the top players in the conference. We just didn't have the same number of them that everybody else did. So there were some growing pains there. But I think our players and our coaching staff worked extremely hard. We gradually were able to increase scholarships. We built more depth. And I think what you've seen the last couple of years is the result of all that hard work and that depth and the talent that we've been able to recruit and bring here to the Monmouth program.
Be nice to have another Northern team in the league and a little bit of a closer trip for you guys.
It will. I mean, you know, right now we're certainly, we have been the outlier in the league, so to speak, the only one in the North. And now with Robert Morris in the conference, it gives us one, as you said, a much closer opponent. It reduces our travel, but it also gives us another opponent in this part of the country, which is nice to see.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Alan.
Thanks, Alan. Steve Edelson.
Yeah, Kevin, you got a month now before your first game. When do you need to quarterback and ideally and have them taking the bulk of the snaps and kind of taking charge of that offense? What's a good time frame for you on that?
You know, you kind of went out there as you were asking, but I'm assuming, Steve, you're asking when would be the right time to name a starting quarterback?
Yeah, basically. I mean, yeah.
Yesterday, last fall. I mean, as soon as we can get one. I mean, you know, a year ago, we were hoping we would come out of spring of 2020 with a starter in place. Then we were hoping, well, it's going to happen in preseason in August of 2020. So, you know, the sooner the better. The one thing that I will say is all of our quarterbacks have really been putting in a lot of work in studying extremely hard, understanding exactly what it is they have to do. And and what the position entails to be the starting quarterback. Now, you still have to go out and do it on the field. You still have to go out and do it in live situations. I think all of our quarterbacks got a taste of that in our limited practices last fall. And now it's not a time to start over, but now it's a time to build on and continue to build from where we left off in the fall. And I think if we do that, we'll see things start to clear up relatively quickly. At least that's my hope.
Anything else, Steve?
No, thank you. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Thanks, Steve. We're just about out of time, but Coach, I want to give you one more question. You're talking about Robert Morris, just what it means to have a prior conference member, rival. What were those games like back in the day? And you got to see every one of them in terms of your time there.
Well, I mean, they were some great games, and we really developed a terrific rivalry with Robert Morris back in those days. I mean, we started our football program here in 1993. They started their football program in 1994 when Joe Walton came in to start up the program at Robert Morris. I think the very first game we played, 1994, came down to a last-second score. We had some great battles with them. They were a very talented team. They were a very well-coached team. And I know players and coaches have changed over the years, but I expect it to be the same right off the get-go here. It was always a terrific game when we played those guys. I got a coach on my staff, Coach Dorsett, who spent a long time at Robert Morris and really gave us fits here at Monmouth. So I anticipate kind of rekindling that great rivalry that we had back in the early and throughout the 90s.
And as we let you go and wrap up this morning, anything else you'd like to add before we close it out?
The only thing I'd like to say is, we're really excited to kick off this spring 2021 season. Our players have waited a long time. They've been very patient. They've been very disciplined in everything that they're doing, both as a football player, but also with all the COVID-19 protocols that we have to have. And I want to see, I want this season to happen for them because they deserve it. And I know that they're tremendously looking forward to it.
Well, Coach, Lonnie, we really appreciate you joining us today. We wish you all the best of luck this coming spring season. Stay healthy and safe, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, Mark. We appreciate the time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.